welcome to the Expert CR Secrets podcast, also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most commercial real estate brokers and luxury realtors, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven brokerage strategy such as the eXp commercial model and purchasing investment real estate is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best commercial real estate brokers, agents, luxury realtors, and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex brokerage strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited to bring back on to the show Matthew Stewart. He is with eXp Realty, and he's a part of my I'm part of his eXp business line, and we're excited to talk about all things eXp commercial made simple. And so, Matt, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Absolutely, it's a wonderful morning, and up early. Did my daily method of operation, my DMO, and yeah, I think you did too, right? You were at the gym this morning, making the body feel right.
Yeah, getting the body right and the mind right. And for those who don't know Matt's been in the real estate business for over 20 years and has sold over 500 homes, mainly started with Keller Williams. And we are longtime friends, played basketball together. And anyways, you can learn more about Matt on our previous episodes. But today we're talking all things eXp commercial made simple. And in particular, big news, Grant Cardone has officially been... what would be the word? They inked a deal with eXp as a sales trainer. How would you explain it, Matt?
I actually don't know all the inner workings. I know that he has inked a deal. I do know that kind of a value add for eXp agents, I believe worldwide, is that we have access to Grant Cardone University, which is pretty cool. It's amazing to me, Glenn Sanford, our founder, how he just keeps bringing in different alignments, from Success Magazine to Showcase IDX. We're one of the only, I believe, the only real estate company or major real estate company that has their own IDX that we control and own. And now aligning himself with Grant Cardone, who's, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, Forbes magazine came out and said Grant Cardone was the nation's, or I don't know if it was the world or what have you, #1 kind of influencer leader in the space of personal development, investing, and things of that nature. Grant Cardone is kind of a neat story, kind of unknown car sales background, and then goes into real estate and really believes in the aspect of residual income and building wealth through real estate and multifamily, which something, Brett, you're really focused on, is the multifamily as well. And he's taken his portfolio now to, I believe, around $2 billion, with a B as in boy, $2 billion portfolio. So pretty amazing. I think he's launched a reality TV show. What is it? Undercover Billionaire or something like that. So he's done very, very well for himself. He fills arenas, literally sports
10X conference. Yeah. Pretty epic.
10X conference, all those sort of things. So for him to get excited about eXp, for him to seek out and align himself with Glenn Sanford, which I do believe it was that way versus the other way around. I don't think Glenn Sanford was pursuing Grant Cardone. I could be mistaken, but I'm fairly confident that that's accurate. And Grant invited Glenn out to his 10X conference to speak and things of that nature. So it's really neat for what eXp is doing. And I really believe we're just getting started. So,
and I am excited to dive into our topic here. And part of making simple is eXp made simple is figuring out, what kind of training and what kind of resources, brokerages are providing. And with that, we're excited to present the 10 mistakes that kill your deals. And this is we're going to present a few of these today. And this is a presentation, I believe, Grant just gave a few days ago to the entire eXp organization. So Matt, let's start with that. Number one, what's the number one top mistake that kill your deals?
So number one is not selling the solution. Not selling the solution. He says people and companies buy things only in an attempt to solve a problem. There is no exception to this rule. And he says when salespeople spend too much time on the offer, the product or the much talked about value add, and they forget to focus on ensuring that that they can solve the problem with their product or service. And so the key is you have to find out what the problem is. So if you're very focused on your presentation, the excitement of all the features and so on, you're never going to be able to get to the benefits that actually solve the customer or client's problem. And that was kind of a big aha as I was going through this. I went, that's true. You can get so focused on, because I'm excited. I'm thrilled about eXp and what we're doing and what it provides. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I have not found another business that has a better risk reward quotient, if you will. I mean, what is it? $149 to join eXp. That's your capital risk. And you can create 5 figures, 6 figures a month in reoccurring residual income with no liability or, I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me. So it's easy to stay focused on that. But the reality is you got to find out what the customer's need or want is. I was talking to an agent yesterday, and she was just saying, well, it sounds good and this and that. And what I realized was I didn't necessarily know exactly what her need or problem was. I was talking a little too much about the excitement of eXp and all the different things that it offers, right? And so I stepped back and I said, hey, why, if you were to do this, why would you do this? What is something? And she goes, well, or another good question is, what do you like the most? And that'll kind of lead you to towards their problem. And it came out that she does not have a retirement. She goes, I really don't have things set up for retirement. I'm getting older. I feel like I'm having less time to accomplish it. And so then we were able to focus on the advantages of the reoccurring residual income of the rev share model with eXp. And so we went over some of the numbers and figures and kind of spelled it out of what it would look like over a 2 to 5 year period. And one of the key questions I asked was, what would you need monthly to be able to retire comfortably? Right? I mean, what would you need? Not what you want. I mean, we all want, 100,000 plus a month or whatever, but what would you actually need to be able to retire comfortably? And so she thought about it, and it's funny, Brett, I don't know if you've run into this, but not a lot of people can answer that question quickly. They really haven't run their numbers of their own family business, if you will, to say, what, this is what we need to maintain our lifestyle. And this kind of off topic just a little bit, but my wife and I teach Financial Peace University, which we went through at our church. And it's unbelievable when you have a budget, which people don't like. So we say spending plan. When you have a spending plan and every dollar has a place that it's supposed to go, man, you just kind of sleep better because you have a plan and you are in control of your money rather than your money controlling you. And when you have that spending plan, now you know what it takes monthly to run, Stewart Inc., if you will, right? The Stewart household. And now we can then start planning and putting different investments in place to be able to rise up to that point of what we need and then go beyond if we want to.
Love it all, Matt. So much wisdom there. And it's talking about focusing on the problem. I think about a doctor, right? If you came into a doctor's office and he's just prescribing you stuff, right? He's just like, hey, come on in. And all right, based upon this, let me just maybe give you that. And you're like, whoa, what's going on here? So you've really got to make sure you understand the problem, understand the challenges, understand the motivations. And sometimes it's not on the first, conversation. Sometimes it's not on the first few questions. So I do like that. What do you like the most? And what would you need to monthly retire on? And then to focus on the problem. I'm curious, Matt, for you, what did you like the most before you came to eXp? Or in other words, what was the biggest problem that you were facing, which, made eXp so attractive?
Yeah, great question. So for me, it's always been freedom. I probably because I grew up in a real estate household. My parents have been brokers for 47 years at a very high level. And so I saw my mom just working and being on that transactional treadmill day after day. I mean, real estate's great. You make great income, but it's a profession that allows you to get up and expects you to get up every morning, throw your running shoes on, and get on that treadmill and run. And that's what we do day after day, is run and run and run and run. And so I call it the transactional treadmill. And so I saw that from the outside. Then I go and get my license and get in the industry. And then I jump on the treadmill and I go, okay, gosh, how does one get off the treadmill? What is the exit strategy? So when I saw eXp, and kind of back up before that, I was with KW prior, and they promoted their profit sharing program, which was revolutionary at the time. No other company had that. And I thought, oh, that's great. But my best year of profit sharing was just under $20,000. It was $19,700. That's not retirement money. That's not getting me off the treadmill. It's, maybe a great vacation or two. And so when I saw eXp, and I could take that same organization that created that 20,000 a year, and I could move it over to eXp, and it would be 10x that was or more than 10x. That was a move the needle moment for me. And I went, okay, that's money that can come in whether I'm on a beach in Tahiti, or I'm doing volunteer work at my church, or whatever it is. I'm doing things that I want to do to give back, and I'm not chasing the dollar anymore because it just comes in.
Yep.
Because I've put the work in. That's what appealed to me.
Yeah, I call it the rich broker, poor broker, right? Right?
Yeah.
What side of the quadrant are you on? Thinking about cash flow quadrant, or Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Exactly.
And are you working as a W-2 1099 type of a realtor, or are you working as a business or investor side, on the right side, and building that business, building that cash flow, building that recurring income, and getting multiple income streams? And by the way, likewise, same thing. I was at Marcus and Millichap for 5 years. Then I went off to another boutique firm, and then I had my own. And each time it was a little bit of, a little bit pros and cons to each model. Part of it was the recurring freedom like yours, but part of it also was the community and the culture and the masterminding and the growth opportunity. Because I found myself as a broker kind of on an island at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Where building a business, also have capital gains tax solutions business, or building a team there. And then I just saw this synergy as, hey, I'm already coaching and training realtors, luxury realtors and commercial real estate agents already.
Yeah.
Why don't I, and I'm already still selling real estate. Why don't I join in and group and network and connect and do it on a bigger scale, where I'm not just relying on myself to do all that. I'm teaming up. And so that team aspect network was big as well, which leads to question number 2 or point number 2. We're talking about Grant Cardone's 10 mistakes that kill your deals. And number 2 is missing buying signals. So Grant says this: I have seen salespeople so invested in their product presentation and so dependent on their slideshow that they're no longer aware of vital buying signals. Remind yourself to be present during your presentation. I am sure you invested a lot of time in your presentation, whether it's a slideshow, flip chart, conference call, Skype, or whatever the case. And probably is one of the best in the history of presentation. It's probably the best, but the customer's vital buying signals are more important than your presentation. So Matt, talk to us through a little bit about what perhaps Grant means by that, and how we can apply that to our presentations.
Yeah. And gosh, reading that, it was kind of, I always try to be self-reflective. So I'm going, okay, I need to improve in this. I need to, because I can be so passionate and so excited about something. It's not necessarily that I'm so keyed in on the presentation. I think when you're newer, sharing your concept and you don't know it inside and out, and maybe your belief level is not, at 110% or what have you, you can be very dependent and methodical in your presentation, and you miss things. But I think for me, I'm at such a high level of belief in what we're doing and the concept and everything like that, that I probably tend to maybe gush over the prospect because I'm just so excited about it. It's like, why wouldn't everybody do this? And it just blows me away when somebody is not willing or able to move forward. And I can see the hangups, but I guess sometimes I could step back and slow down a bit and really ask more questions and read the signals, the body language. And I think also the aspect of DISC, I don't know if you're familiar with that, DISC, and the different personality styles. One of them needs a lot more information and facts and figures and graphs and charts, and others are just more excited and respond off energy, and others are more responsive regarding time and just get to the bottom line and what's in it for me, kind of, all that type stuff. So always getting better in that regard, and you learning the different buying signals of each of those personality styles, I think, are big as well.
So much wisdom, Matt. So much wisdom. I'm going to go to number 3 here. Number 3, refuse to ask hard questions is number 3 for Grant Cardone's 10 mistakes that kill your deals. He says, in my experience, that salespeople miss opportunities to build trust because they're unwilling to ask hard questions. This either comes from being naive or lack of proper training. Real closers have real communications with their clients. I was on a sales call with one of my top salespeople, and while he was presenting to the group, I sensed that the decision maker wasn't buying the presentation. I interrupted. You don't believe a word of what he is saying, do you? The client started laughing and said that's exactly what he was thinking. Ask hard questions. How do you feel about our pricing? How do you feel about our terms? Why would you do business with me when you have it done? You have it with our competitor for so long. You've done it with our competitor for so long. Also, when you ask questions, make sure to get them answered. If you don't get the answers to the hard questions, you will find yourself not closing deals and not knowing why. So, Matt, any thoughts there?
Oh gosh, there's a lot there. I have a tendency to be more on the bold side, so I think I do ask some of the tough questions. It's interesting when you're presenting with a group where you have different team members and others may not be quite as bold. That's something that I've been, so we have a large, there's a large brokerage that we're talking with, and there's different parties within my success team that have been in communication, and we all have different styles. And it was brought up to me that I was there's a difference between being aggressive and assertive. And he said, you have a tendency to be too aggressive versus assertive. And I went, wow, that's a great, and rather than being defensive, it's like, okay, I want to learn, that's valuable feedback. And I respect that he would, share that with me. That's gold, because a lot of times people don't want to share truth because they're afraid of offending. So I think there is something in there, in this number 3 of, not necessarily being aggressive, but being assertive and asking the tough questions, but not being too aggressive where it's off-putting. So I will tell you, I haven't learned. I'm still massaging through that and rubbing the edges off or what have you.
For sure. Yeah. I'm the same way, Matt. We have very similar personality types, right? And I've got to
probably why we go at it on the basketball court, right?
Yeah, man, that's why we're so competitive too, right?
Yeah.
But it's so true, right? There's a fine line, and it's an art and a science when consulting and in sales and helping folks and communicate. And these are big questions, right? With big deals, real estate. For me, it's capital gains tax as well, commercial real estate, and people's big changes in lives if they're moving from a commercial real estate or a residential brokerage to a new brokerage model. It's a big deal. And so learning the art and the science of asking tough questions in a way that makes it safe. I read a cool book called Crucial Conversations. And it talks about this idea of making it safe. And it's for any communications where you can help to, let's put it this way, I guess, make a clear runway for what you're about to land this plane with, right? And you're going to be like stuff that, hey, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to come off as too aggressive. It's even saying these things, like sometimes I have a tendency to do these things. But and here's the question I have here, and delivering that question. I would like to have clarity on this, and I have to get the book out, maybe bring it on the next episode to kind of really break that down. But the idea is it safe for the conversation to go there? Have you built enough rapport? Have you established enough trust to make that ask that tough question? And if you haven't done the work of doing that, and the time sometimes that it takes, and you're right, with certain personality types, it takes a little longer, and that's okay. And the key is the patience and working with somebody and thinking about them versus yourself. What do you think, Matt?
Oh, I think that's very wise. Absolutely. One thing as I'm thinking it through, it's one thing to ask the questions it takes for most people the guts to step up and ask the tough questions. But then also you have to allow enough silence in there. The discomfort of silence is very powerful because you have to be patient enough yourself to wait for the answer. And that's what he adds at the bottom here. And I think that is like kind of the crescendo there of this number 3 is, okay, yeah, you've asked the tough question, but don't be afraid to let it hang there a bit until you get the answer that is the real answer. And it may require a follow-up question. Hey, could you kind of unpack that a little bit more for me? Here's what and this is also a good thing, not only in marriage, but also is to repeat back. Hey, this is what I heard you say. So you get clarity and you're, kind of in alignment of what the, mutual understanding is, because you could ask the tough question and they give you an answer and they did not understand or interpret the same question that you thought you were asking. So to ask for feedback and just say, hey, this is what I thought I heard you say. Am I correct in my interpretation of your response? And then be quiet, and then let them go, well, no, that isn't, or yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Oh, so good, Matt. And we're going to go on next week. We're going to talk about this. And I'm looking at some stuff up now here. But what you're referring to is mirroring, right? So mirroring the last few sentences or the last few words, or even the last kind of idea or thought, and then asking for permission if that's you have a fair summary or fair understanding of it. Because you're right, you could be saying the same things, but you're in a different level of communication, and until you're mirroring back. And also the human brain too. And this is a book by a gentleman, Never Split the Difference, and he talks about our brains until we feel we've been heard, Matt. And the mirroring, it's hard for us to be truly listening. We're always, instead it's closer to a debate rather than a conversation, right? And so by mirroring, like the last few words that Matt just said, Matt goes yes, and get an agreement there. Now the conversation can go forward. Does that make sense?
Oh, I think that's great. Absolutely. And wasn't that guy a FBI negotiator or something like this? If
Chris
I remember,
Voss. Yeah, it's his name, Chris Voss.
Yeah, I actually got to get that book. I've heard so many people talk about it. That's a phenomenal book. Never Split the Difference. Yeah.
That being said, we are running out of time. And so we want to make an ask here. If you guys are interested, anyone listening to this episode, about learning more about eXp Commercial, eXp Realty, Matt or I would love to speak to you about it. Matt, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, just my cell phone, 916-718-2979.
Excellent. And you can reach out to me, 916-886-2986. You can also go to expertcresecrets.com. It's expertcresecrets.com. And we have the YouTube channel as well. Lots of resources, lots of folks who have joined and tell their story. And also the podcast on iTunes. We're streaming iTunes and on YouTube as well right now. Thank you so much. And we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about eXp Commercial Made Simple. We're going to be touching on more of Grant's 7 other mistakes that folks are making. And we'll also touch on some crucial conversations. That being said, thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.